On November 22, 1996, in Catania, Italy, Celeste Manno came into the world. From her very first breath, her family sensed something extraordinary. Her godmother and aunt, Carmela Melinda, would later recall the moment Celeste opened those striking blue eyes. She was captivated instantly. There was something luminous about Celeste from the very beginning. The family eventually settled in Mernda, northeast of Melbourne, Victoria. Celeste grew up alongside two brothers, Alessandro and Jayden, her brother. Jayden would later reflect that Celeste was the brightest among them, the best of all of them, beloved by everyone who knew her. At Lalor Secondary College, Celeste thrived as a cheerleader. Athletic, outgoing, with a smile that could light up any room. But what truly defined her was her boundless compassion. The thought of anyone feeling excluded troubled her deeply. Friends described her as a ray of sunshine. After graduation, Celeste followed her heart toward helping others. She enrolled at RMIT University, earning her degree in criminology and psychology. Her dream was to become a psychologist. Her brother Alessandro would say she was perfect in every way. Her mother, Aggie, described Celeste as a beacon of love and joy, someone who made everyone around her feel valued. After graduating, Celeste joined the Serco call center. She quickly rose to become a team leader. Beyond work, her world revolved around family. She and Alessandro shared a tradition of making homemade pizzas together. By November 2020, Celeste's future seemed bright with promise. She had recently begun dating Chris Ridsdale. On November 15th, she shared a photograph of the two of them, together on Instagram. It marked the first time she had ever posted a picture with a boyfriend on social media. For Celeste, it was simply a happy moment captured. For someone else watching, it became the final trigger. The year was June 2018. Celeste was excelling in her role at Serco, having just been promoted to team leader. That month, a new IT worker was briefly assigned to her team. His name was Luay Sako. Sako was 35 years old. He lived with his parents in Roxburgh Park and operated a small IT business called D-Stex IT. Born in Iraq, he had moved to Australia as a child. He had no prior criminal record. Celeste and Sako worked together for only a few weeks. Their interactions were minimal, strictly professional. Celeste had absolutely no romantic interest in him. But for Sako, those few weeks meant something entirely different. At the end of June, Sako was terminated from Serco. As his manager, Celeste was required to escort him from the building. Standard protocol. But Celeste, being who she was, wanted to make the uncomfortable situation easier for him. As they walked toward the car park, she shook his hand and wished him well. A simple gesture of kindness. But as they reached his car, Sako suddenly leaned in and kissed Celeste on the cheek. Uninvited. Unexpected. Celeste was caught off guard but brushed it aside. Alessandro would later explain that his sister had no closeness with Sako whatsoever. She was simply trying to offer some support while walking him out. She was being kind, nothing more. 3 days after his departure, Sako sent Celeste a message on Instagram. His words were troubling. He confessed he could not stop thinking about her. He claimed he had never felt this way about anyone in his entire life. He described it as bordering on OCD, a total infatuation. He told her that since leaving, his productivity and personal life had suffered greatly. He called his obsession with her addictive and destructive, interfering with his ability to concentrate on anything. Celeste responded with grace. She acknowledged his words were kind. She expressed appreciation for his honesty. But she made her position clear. Her feelings toward him were strictly professional. She wished him well on his new path forward, and hoped for the best in his journey ahead. For most people, that would have been the end of it. But for Sako, rejection was something he could not accept. His response revealed his true nature. He told her his impression of her had changed. He declared he would remember this lesson for the rest of his life. And then, the real campaign began. Over the next 12 months, Sako sent Celeste more than 140 messages. He created multiple fake Instagram accounts. Every time Celeste blocked him, he would create a new account and resurface within minutes. The messages turned vulgar, degrading, sexually explicit. Celeste repeatedly demanded he stop. She threatened to contact the police. The messages would pause temporarily, then return with renewed intensity. Celeste confided in a colleague at work. She told her with chilling certainty that he was going to kill her. She sensed the danger she was in. Around December 2018 or January 2019, approximately 6 months into the harassment, Celeste and her mother Aggie went to the police. They explained everything that was happening. They showed them the messages. They conveyed how frightened Celeste was. The response was devastating. The officers told them he had not committed a crime. There was nothing they could do. They suggested Celeste ignore the messages, step away from social media, close her accounts entirely. They minimized the stalking and placed blame on the victim. Roughly 6 months later, they returned to the police. This time, they spoke to a different officer, one who finally took their concerns seriously. This officer helped them obtain protection orders. In July 2020, Celeste was granted a personal safety intervention order. It was a court-issued prohibition against Sako making any contact. In August 2020, a further interim intervention order was issued. For a brief moment, Celeste and Aggie felt a sense of relief. Perhaps the legal order would be enough. But on August 10, 2020, approximately 1 month after the intervention order was put in place, Sako violated it. He contacted Celeste via social media and sent her a 3.5-page letter, begging her to withdraw the order. Sako was arrested that same day for breaching the intervention order. Celeste and Aggie exhaled with relief. He must be scared now, they thought. Thank God he has learned his lesson, but their sense of security was tragically misplaced. Despite the arrest, despite the breach, Sako was released back into the community. No detention, no remand, no GPS monitoring, no electronic surveillance of any kind. The very next day, August 11th, 2020, Sako walked into a shop and purchased a kitchen knife. Clear evidence of premeditation. He held onto that weapon for exactly 3 months. Between August and November 2020, Sako was hunting Celeste. He used her Instagram posts to gather information about her life. He employed Google Earth and Google Maps to locate the family home. In Merinda, he found the property's floor plan online, likely from public real estate or property records. He used it to identify which room was Celeste's bedroom. He conducted physical surveillance, driving past the property at least 3 times before the attack. He was planning, watching, waiting. During this time, life continued for Celeste. She was still working at Circo, still spending time with her family, still seeing her boyfriend, Chris. On November 14th, 2020, 2 days before her murder, Celeste and Alessandro made homemade pizzas together. They spent time by the pool. They talked about visiting their niece, Daisy, the next day. Celeste was eagerly anticipating her 24th birthday on November 22nd. She had plans. She was excited. She had no idea her time was running out. On the 14th or early on the 15th of November, Celeste posted a photograph on Instagram. It was a picture of her and Chris, her boyfriend. It was the first time she had ever posted a photo with him. For Celeste, it was a normal act of a young woman in a happy relationship. For Sako, it was unbearable. Hours after the photo was posted, Sako climbed into his dark-colored Peugeot. He brought the hammer. He brought the knife he had purchased 3 months earlier, and he drove to Merinda. November 16th, Liangtianling Arsher. It was early morning. Most of Merinda lay asleep. The Manno family home on Umbria Road was silent. Celeste was sleeping in her bedroom. Her mother, Aggie, was resting elsewhere in the house. Her brother, Alessandro, was also home. At 3 a.m., Sako arrived at Umbria Road in his Peugeot. He scaled the fence to access the back garden. Blood would later be discovered on that fence, evidence of his escape route. He approached Celeste's bedroom window. He raised the hammer and shattered the glass. The sound of breaking glass pierced the silence. He climbed through the broken window into the room where Celeste slept. What happened next lasted just 2 minutes and 39 seconds. Under 3 minutes, Sako attacked Celeste with the kitchen knife. She awoke to the horror of a man in her room, a knife in his hand. She fought back. Forensic evidence would later reveal defensive injuries on her body. Celeste fought desperately for her life, but she never stood a chance. Sako stabbed her 23 times. At least one deep wound penetrated straight to her heart. That was the blow that took her life. He dropped the knife on the bedroom floor, climbed back out through the window, and drove away in his Peugeot. By the time Aggie was jolted awake by the sound of breaking glass and commotion, by the time she rushed down the hallway to Celeste's bedroom, it was already too late. The attack had been completed in under 3 minutes. Aggie found her daughter in bed, blood spattered, dying from 23 stab wounds. There was so much blood that Aggie could not discern the position of Celeste's face. She reached out to touch her daughter. Celeste was cold as marble. Aggie would later ask, "How could I not protect her? What could we have done? Why? Just why?" Emergency services were called. At approximately 4 a.m., police and paramedics arrived, but there was nothing they could do. Celeste Manno was pronounced dead at the scene. She died in her bedroom on Umbria Road, Mernda. She was just 23 years old, 6 days before her 24th birthday. Immediately after the murder, Sako drove directly to Mernda police station. His car crashed at or into the police station. He walked inside, his hand injured from the attack, and turned himself in. The words he spoke to the officers were chilling. "She is dead," he said. "Go have a look. You know what happened. It is your fault." He blamed the police for the murder, for failing to protect Celeste, despite the intervention orders, despite the reports, despite his arrest just 3 months earlier. Sako was taken to hospital, under police guard, for surgery on his non-life-threatening hand injury. He remained hospitalized with police supervision for 3 days. On November 19, 2020, 3 days after Celeste's murder, Luay Sako was formally charged with 1 count of murder. Back at the family home, the scene was devastating. Brothers, Jaden and Alessandro, arrived. Boyfriend Chris Ridsdale came. Family members gathered outside, hugging and crying. As police processed the scene, floral tributes began to accumulate. A glazier arrived to repair the shattered glass panel of Celeste's bedroom window. Forensic cleaners worked inside. The window was replaced around 2:45 p.m. At one point, Aggie tried to run through the crime scene tape as her daughter's body was being removed. Police had to restrain her. Celeste's father, Tony Manno, spoke to the media, his voice breaking with grief and rage. "It has got to be changed," he said. "It will not bring her back, but it has got to be changed. Too many scenarios have already happened. What is it going to take for the government to listen? It is not right. It has got to stop." Homicide squad detectives were dispatched immediately. Identifying the perpetrator was immediate. He had confessed, and was already known to police from prior stalking complaints. At the scene, investigators found the kitchen knife on Celeste's bedroom floor, the hammer used to smash the window, and blood evidence throughout the room. The digital evidence was overwhelming. More than 140 Instagram messages from fake accounts, Google searches to locate the home, the floor plan found online to identify Celeste's bedroom, proof that Sako had driven past the property at least 3 times before the attack. Documentary evidence included the intervention orders and purchase records showing the knife had been bought on August 11th, the day after his arrest for breaching the order. The investigation confirmed what everyone already knew. This was premeditated murder, carried out by a man who had stalked Celeste for over 2 years, who had been arrested and released, and who had spent months planning how to end her life. Sako appeared via online hearing at Melbourne Magistrates Court, and was remanded in custody. In September 2021, he entered a not guilty plea. The case became mired in proceedings about his mental fitness to stand trial before he was determined fit to proceed. More than 2 years after Celeste's murder, on April 6, 2023, Sako changed his plea to guilty, but even then, he disputed the evidence, claiming he had only inflicted 2 of the 23 stab wounds. Forensic evidence thoroughly disproved these claims. The plea hearing took place over 3 days before Justice Jane Dixon. Prosecutor Patrick Burke recommended life imprisonment, calling it an unprovoked, savage, and cowardly attack. "He does not rock up to her workplace in the middle of the day," Burke argued. "He finds her house, he finds her bedroom, and goes there in the middle of the night." Dr. Rajan Darji diagnosed Sako with severe personality disorder, major depressive disorder, and body dysmorphic disorder. He revealed that Sako had fabricated psychotic symptoms. The risk assessment was chilling. Sako posed a moderate to high risk of further stalking and violence. Aggie held an illuminated blue urn, containing Celeste's ashes throughout the hearing. She called Sako a coward and a beast. On February 29, 2024, Justice Jane Dixon sentenced Sako to 36 years imprisonment, with a minimum non-parole period of 30 years. She stated that Celeste deserved life, but you decided otherwise. Then came the conclusion. While the murder of Miss Manno was a grave example of a grave offense, it did not warrant a sentence of life in prison. Outside court, Aggie said the court decided to grant him mercy, even though he showed Celeste none. Quite clearly, his right to mercy was more important than her right to life. Celeste's murder triggered an urgent review. On June 30, 2022, the Victorian Law Reform Commission released its final report. With 45 recommendations, it acknowledged, at the heart of this reference is the death of Celeste Manno. On April 17, 2024, the family launched the Justice for Celeste petition. It has gathered over 62,000 signatures, demanding mandatory life sentences, implementation of all 45 recommendations. From the Victorian Law Reform Commission's stalking report, and GPS ankle bracelets for stalkers. As of November 2024, more than 4 years after Celeste's murder, there has been no formal government response to the 45 recommendations. Dr. Renee Heath stated this: the Premier and her ministers have turned up to walks against family violence, but they will not make the changes that are required. All talk, all walk, no action. Aggie advocated for GPS ankle bracelets, pointing to Tasmania's Project Vigilance, which achieved a 100% decrease in stalking reports. But the Victorian government rejected electronic monitoring. We know that right now, if Celeste's situation was occurring in the same way, it would happen again. From January 2018 to May 2024, in Victoria, 113 murderers were sentenced for killing 124 people. Only 11 received life sentences. That is only 9.7%. Luay Sako remains in custody. He will be eligible for parole around 2050, at age 65. The family's fight continues. Aggie's promise remains. I failed her once, but I am not going to fail her again. The question that haunted Aggie was, how could I not protect her? What could we have done? 4 years later, we know the answer. Celeste did everything she could. Her family did everything they could. The system failed them. The real question is, when will the system finally change?